Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of JTWJE.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. If you're watching us on YouTube today, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe and help me fill that algorithm. If you're listening to this on any of our audio platforms, please subscribe. Please download this episode and more episodes, and please give us a 5-star rating as well. I'm thrilled today because our next guest is here. She's an actress and singer, and she has been off the board when it comes to theater. From regional, she's played Company in Amy and Company, Tzeitel in Fiddler on Roof, Ermengarde in Hello, Dolly. She was an Audrey on multiple different productions of Little Shop of Horrors. But off-Broadway and on-Broadway, she is well known to many Broadway fans as Brooke Lowe's of Be More Show. And as of this recording, she has over 27,100 Instagram followers. So please let me welcome Lauren Marcus to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me on here.
You're so welcome, Lauren. I think I got everything.
I think so too. It's hard to keep track, but that sounds like it. That sounds like a lot of the good stuff.
All righty, so let's get started. So when did you get interested in performing, and how did that passion evolve and desire of pursuing a career in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, I mean, I always say it's kind of like I did it the way I think a lot of people do it, which is the insane way, where you're 4 years old and you decide you want to be an actor for the rest of your life. Because that's what happened. I remember I saw a touring production. I grew up in Chicago in the suburbs of Les Miserables, and that was it. I was like, whatever that is, that's what I want to do. And that's kind of what set me off. But I didn't do my first show until maybe 6th grade. There was the junior high musical was a big deal, and that was my first audition for anything. It was Bye Bye Birdie, and that's when I first started, really caught the bug in earnest.
That's amazing, because I gotta say, number one, Midwesterners unite. I'm from Overland Park, Kansas, so Kansas City.
Oh
yeah. And then also, I gotta say, that was exactly the same time I did theater, from middle school all the way up to senior year of high school.
Yeah, it's the best time. It's funny too. I mean, truly, the junior high musical was a very big deal, and I feel like I don't know if my parents were using it as a barometer to be like, is she any good? Like, is this something she actually could do? And so it could have gone either way. All auditions can, even when you're in school, but that one went well, so I think it helped set my parents off for the journey of maybe this is something she can do. They've always been really supportive. So
that's incredible. And I got to say this. I looked at your resume before going on here. I got to say, several regional productions, 2 different productions of Little Shop of Horrors playing Audrey. And not to mention performing in, as I mentioned earlier, Hello, Dolly with Tovah Feldshuh. What a legend in the industry.
I know.
And not to mention Company with Aaron Tveit, who recently will be joining the Sweeney Talk as a titular role. So what have been some of these memories with performing these productions?
I mean, every single one holds a different what in my heart. I first of all, Little Shop of Horrors is my favorite musical of all time. So that is a role that every time I've gotten to do it has been really special to me, and I keep saying I hope to do it 2 to 3 more times before it's inappropriate that I'm playing the role. But it's my favorite show. The first time I did Little Shop was at Sharon Playhouse in Connecticut, and that was a very wild story. I was actually seeing, so it was at a summer stock theater. So while they were teching Little Shop, they were opening another show that I went to see. My very good friend Jason Sweet Tooth Williams opening the show. I wasn't in Little Shop, just bear this in mind. So I was at the theater, and the actress who was playing Audrey, who was in tech for that, had a family emergency and had to leave. And so I was actually asked at midnight to fill in and start rehearsals the next day, 3 days before it opened. So I went in there and I learned the show in 3 days, which I'd say, thank God, I've been listening to it since I was 5 years old. the music like I knew, the lines I did not, and sort of made that one happen. That was really like a wild summer stock theater version. Um, Directed by a very good friend of mine, Jenn Warner. So that was the first time I did Little Shop. And the second time was like a true audition process, did that. And I did it in Pittsburgh. And that was such a special memory. And also like the last show I did right before the pandemic happened. So I hold that one very close to me.
Wow. I told earlier this year I welcomed on Andrew Keegan Bolger, and I said,
Oh, cool.
Audrey too scares the hell out of me for Halloween.
Yeah.
For Halloween episode. So that plant is terrifying.
Yeah, it is. It's really a fun thing to choreograph being eaten by it. I mean, it's different in every production of it. It's scary to go diving in through it and have to get out. It's been scary every time. I've kind of blocked it out, actually. I was just trying to be like, do I have any good memories? But it's never easy getting into that plant and being eaten by it. It's always like someone's dragging you out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Scary, but oh God, I love that show. I love that show with my whole heart.
Oh yeah. Hopefully off-Broadway will be coming soon after Constant Swoon, knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood, honestly. And what were some of the other shows? I mean, Company, that was like, I mean, that Amy was a complete dream role. I can't even believe I got to do that production. It was a really good time. It was a really good cast. I've worked at Barrington Theater a lot, so it was nice to sort of be on like a turf that I knew. And I can't believe I didn't have a complete mental breakdown doing it, because it's really scary to do that song in front of a live audience. And Sondheim came to see the show. That was a wild night. Yeah, listen, the getting married, like that went great. I will tell you, I fell down a flight of stairs during the opening number.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I feel like that was the ultimate lesson in just letting something like that go. I am the type of actor, I've gotten much better, who, like, if I flub a line or miss a lyric or something, will ruminate on it for days and days. But that night I fell down the flight of stairs, and like I heard literal gasps from the audience, and I floated out of my body. I was like, Stephen Sondheim is here, and he just saw you fall down a flight of stairs. Like, this is not how you would have it go in your perfect dreamland. And I really went, you have two choices. You can think about this like for the rest of the night, and who knows how that's going to affect your performance, or like you just have to accept that happened and move on and do the show that you do well. And I did. And it turns out he didn't even see me. He didn't, like, half the audience saw me fall down the stairs. So I'm glad I didn't completely let that ruin my night of getting to perform for him. That's also like a lifelong dream. I'm really happy I had that. So
thank goodness that the one of the greatest theater that you were able to recover, and not only recover,
so
but
ridiculous.
that theater legend Stephen Sondheim, rest in peace, was able to see you and perform and tackle that monstrous song. Because I remember watching that. My first memory of that song was watching Alice Ripley, I believe, Alice Cridge, perform that for Elizabeth Taylor back in 2021 Kenny Center Honors. I'm like, oh boy, if you perform that song in front of Elizabeth, you gotta have balls of steel.
Yeah, it really is. I remember, I mean, I got to probably a little bit too crazy of a place with it, where I'd like be like, I have to say it all 3 times a night before I go on. I got a little insane. I would like to play that again, but also I think I could rest easy not ever having to sing that song again. It's a lot. Yeah,
I agree. I remember Matt Doyle was actually did that song as well.
Yeah. I actually didn't see that production, which I'm sorry to say that I didn't. But yeah, it's a beast. It's a beast of a song to
absolutely
to execute.
And I got to talk to you about Hello Dolly, because Hello Dolly, I actually played one of the officers in Hello Dolly.
Oh, you did? When did you do that?
It was fun, and like they had to convince me not to use my whistle. You know, the single when the whistle blow.
Yep.
I will, not to draw attention to people.
Did you do that in school or did you do?
Middle school, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I really love that show. I didn't know it at all when I auditioned for it, which is slightly embarrassing to admit. But that was the show that gave me my card and was my first professional, like everything. I remember I went to an open call for it. And it was like they typed, which like I don't even know if they still type anymore, if that's a thing that happens in auditions. But I had no idea what was happening, and I was kind of like, okay, they asked me to stay. And I remember I got they had me stay and read for Ermengarde, and I remember having a really good friend at the call, and I was like, what the hell is this? What is? And he's like, she cries. She cries. That's her deal. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So I got that show, and it was at the Paper Mill Playhouse, and it was amazing. I love that show. I saw the Bette Midler version of it, and there's something so magical about it, and it's like earnestness. It's honest to God musical theater that like when put on your Sunday clothes happens, it's magical. I cried. I could cry now talking about it. That show's beautiful. It's fun. It's like everything you want in a good old fashioned musical, you know.
Absolutely.
Tovah Feldshuh did it with an Irish accent. It was really cool.
Wow, she did.
Yeah.
That was her Dolly?
Yeah, she was like, no, her name is Dolly Gallagher Levi. Like she's like, I'm taking it back to the roots. She did a whole thing with it, and it was really cool. It was great.
It's amazing to hear that because there's so many different versions. The Barbara Streisand version of it, Carol's version of it,
Yeah.
Bette's
Yeah.
version of it, Bernadette. I wish I got to see Bette and Bernadette's versions of those Dollies, and same with Tovah's.
It was a beautiful production. Yeah, the last one, beautiful. Um, and ours, honestly, ours was really great too. I was really, really proud of it. I was so young though at the time. I didn't like understand anything. Think how lucky I was. I think when I got that job, I was like, oh, life as an actor is going to be a breeze, and not the case. But a really fun way to start out professionally, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, one of the projects that you went full circle on is Be More Chill, which went from pre-Broadway to off-Broadway, and finally The Great White Way. So what did it mean to be part of this full circle journey?
Everything. I feel like I experienced every possible emotion you could have with that show, and I got to do it alongside my best friends and my husband. Like it really, really was a wild ride. And you know, we first did the show. We'd done some readings of it, but then we did the show out of town at Two River Theater, and loved it. We all loved it, and so when it came out, it wasn't received critically that well, which is really important when you're out of town. And we kind of like mourned it, and we're like, well, the show's over. Like it died, but we loved it. So then 3 or 4 years later to have this resurgence, like that doesn't happen. That's not a thing that happens. So it really was riding out this wave of like, well, what's this going to be? What could this mean? Could the show come back? Is that something that happens? And it did. So it meant everything to all of us. Yeah.
It's a very, like, I gotta say this, it's very interesting learning about off-Broadway to Broadway. And like you have certain shows like Hamilton and like Avenue Q that went from off-Broadway to having success on Broadway, but then you also have shows like A Little Shop of Horrors and Avenue Q who went back from Broadway to having more success off-Broadway.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, everything like things have changed off Broadway, I think, in a way like is very different 20 or 30 years ago. And you know, it's funny because off Broadway, Little Shop just ran off Broadway originally for years and years and years. And I don't really know if shows still do that. I mean, Little Shop is off Broadway now, but it's funny that doesn't really happen now when you think about it. It all like means something different. But when we did Be More Chill off Broadway, I think it was very much with an eye, like hoping, fingers crossed, that it would move. And it did. That was an amazing run. It was sold out. God, that was very fun. It was crazy. I got my first like big injury. I sprained my ankle. That's the first time I've, knock on wood, ever had something like that happen. So that was very wild and upsetting for me at the time. But also helped kick my butt into gear for when we got to Broadway, to know how I needed to take care of myself.
Absolutely, because I bet it magnetized goes 100 times 100. Everything goes 100 to 1,000 times.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I love theater more than anything, and that show was physically very difficult. Like there was only probably one or two people in the cast who I would classify as dancers. So for us, that was a lot of movement for the rest of us who were movers. And it was a really physically demanding show, and doing press and everything, like, and the build up, that is your life. That's what you do. You do the show, you go home, you go to sleep, you get up, you warm up, you do the show. I mean, and so it's a really, you have to love it because it's a lot of work. A lot of work. Thank God.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love that show.
Absolutely. So what have been some of the challenges that you face staying in the industry, and how have you overcome those obstacles?
Yeah. There are a lot of challenges. I mean, as I'm sure everyone says this, I'm sure people have talked to you, there's a lot of rejection. Like there's just a lot of rejection, a lot of never hearing. And a lot of opinions that you have to sort of wade through and be like, is this good advice? Is this completely ridiculous advice? Do I want to take it? Do I want to ignore it? But it's hanging on to the knowledge that it's something that like you have to do to survive. And like for me, I can't imagine a world where theater wasn't involved. And so it never really was an option that I was going to leave. But it's like clinging on sort of to this faith that it'll work out, maybe not all at once in a huge, humongous like way, but like little patches of work and little things that'll sustain you. And that needs to be worth it. There's lots of talks along the way, like, am I cut out for this? Is this worth it? Is this, if this is it, will I be happy doing it this way for the rest of my life? And I like to think that like, you just there's like little lampposts along the way that kind of give you signs that you should keep on keeping on. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of like a general answer. I know everyone just has like horrific specific audition stories or rejections, but it really is about like picking up the lampposts and the signs along the way, I think.
I agree. Those are you hit the nail on the head of what a lot of my guests have come on and said that.
Yeah.
It is not only that, but also in media as well. Like, I think the entertainment industry, of all the industries that are in the arts, our industry is the most competitive.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a funny thing. Anything creative, anything artistic, you just need to be prepared. Look, and I'm sure it's the same for you. Like there are some people who get on the scene and it just goes from 0 to 100, and it seems like they have things handed to them and like all these opportunities, and like I'm jealous of those people. Like that's what I wanted to happen out of school. You know what I mean? I thought like, oh my God, I'm gonna go to Broadway and it's gonna be so easy. And for the majority of people in the business, like that is not the route. And there are so many different ways that you can stay in the business and keep working. But it's really hard, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of side hustle, and it's a lot of side jobs that have nothing to do with the creative part of it. But I mean, for me, it's been worth it. Like the lamppost moments have been incredible. And even like just now when you're just reading out like a fraction of the jobs that I've had, I'm really, really proud of those. I didn't know if those would come. I also use those now to convince myself in desperate times when I'm like, you'll never work again, that they will come again. It's just playing the long game.
Absolutely. And like with me, that's how I look at it as well. I've definitely Like there's a lot of my podcasters, I'm like, holy moly, they are doing epic work. And same with the people who I graduate college with. But at the same time, I look at some of my heroes like Regis Philbin and Barbara Walters, who were in their 80s when they retired. And it's like, do you rather be a flash in the pan or for the longevity? I pick the latter.
Yeah. And I also think there's something to, again, still super jealous. And it's amazing the people who it happens the way you sort of dream about. But I also think that when the road's a little bit harder and you're making your own work, I think you become a different, if it had all happened the way I wanted out of school, that would have been amazing. But I don't think I would have started writing. I don't think I would have really questioned myself as who I was as an artist or what I wanted to be saying in quite the same way. And there's a lot of things I'm so proud of that I don't think I would have done if it had been different. I'm sure the road would have been nice the other way too. I'm sure. And it comes with its challenges. It's a different set of challenges, but there's a lot of good that comes with the hard stuff too.
Absolutely. So let's move on to music, because I cannot get your song Skinny and Blonde out of my head.
Oh, thank you.
I'm telling everybody off. I told you off stage. I'm telling you now in public. It reminded me so much of Billy Joel's Tell Her About It, and Meghan Trainor's all about that bass, that feels. So it's from your upcoming album, Drugstore. Could you please share the song's origin story with my listeners?
Yes. Okay. So I would say a lot of my songs, I mean, some are straight up autobiographical, some are straight up fiction, and some are a combo of both. And I'd say Skinny and Blonde is sort of a nice, healthy combo of both. It comes from some very real experiences that I had. And I hit a place in my acting career probably about 10, 11 years ago. And I was really frustrated. I wasn't getting a lot of the opportunities I thought that I should be getting or could be getting. And I was sort of desperate to help my career or myself along and make those happen. And for me at that time, I thought one way to do that was to change what I looked like. And I gravitated towards a certain look that honestly, I still think is really really fucking cool. There's a lot of my icons, a lot of females I love kind of looked this way, which is skinny and blonde. And I think that's because it's a lot of what I've been shown in the media growing up. And I headed towards that. And for me, it didn't work out that great. I had a big crash and my body, it paid a big price physically for what that did, but also it was interesting because I do feel like I was working a lot more when I kind of looked like that. So it's just sort of a cautionary tale, and I don't think you have to look any one way to be able to work, and it's not about staying away from skinny and blonde. I think there's so many different versions of gorgeous, and that is still one of them. But I also think that not having to change yourself is a big thing I will stand behind. There's a lot of different versions of gorgeous, and they don't need to be sort of what we've been shown for years and years is like a very obvious version of that. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean too, especially on the guy side too. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm 5'6", I'm Jewish, and also I don't have a six pack.
There's no reason to be sorry. I think you look great, but also it's I hate that that's something that I even feel like we need to apologize for. I feel like I need to apologize for things about the way I look too. And it's why being different it's good. We're not supposed to look the same. It would be so boring if we all just looked the same.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? No one. And if we want to see that, look what happened. Look at The Walking Dead.
Look at the what?
Look at The Walking Dead, where everybody's the same. They're all zombified.
Yeah. I say that too, about my writing or my acting. It's it doesn't bother me in the same way it used to. If you don't like what I write, if you don't like what I do, that's okay. Because wouldn't it be really boring if everybody everybody liked it. You know what I mean? Like, then what are you doing? You're some watered down version of what
Absolutely.
you
Here's the
are.
thing. I built this image of me with my glasses and everything since for over a decade. And I'm like, I cannot, it would be so awkward to change that branding.
Yeah. Yeah. It's no, I totally get it. And it's also hard. I'm someone who I can look very different on a day-to-day basis. I like wear wigs, sometimes I don't. So I've really like been on this journey to sort of accepting this fluidity about in terms of what I look like not being the most important thing.
I totally agree. It has to be your talent and what you bring to the table, not just your look, not your looks. They can come third or fourth there, tertiary or quaternary.
Yeah, it's just one aspect of you, it's not everything at all. But so yeah, that song's just sort of about my journey with it. Yeah.
It's a fantastic song, guys. You need to check it out after this interview. All right. So let's get started. We got to start writing down our conversation. So you have performed on some of New York City's well-known venues, ranging from 54 Below and Arlene's Grocery to Joe's Pub and Rockwood Music Hall. Could you describe how you work with these individual venues, which are all unique, and towards a great experience for your concertgoers and fans?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. Every venue sort of has its different like set of rules. They want you to send them over, your plot list, like who's going to be playing, what instruments, and then I go to different places and sort of feel where I feel like most at home or what feels most correct. I absolutely love Feinstein's 54 Below. I couldn't feel more at home there, but that usually feels a little bit more like on the cabaret theatrical like spectrum of everything. And so Rockwood, I feel like has kind of become my home singer-songwriter wise. And I might be a pain in their ass because I feel like I bring a lot of musicians, but I'm always so happy with sort of how the room feels or the effect of the show afterwards. But it's just kind of about like what space to me feels best. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So have you thought about your dream collaborators, like musicians, like singers, songwriters, fellow performers that you want to go into recording studio with?
I mean, what's funny is I really like performing live a lot more than I like recording, if I'm totally honest with you. I can't even imagine like if I could ever like perform alongside like Lake Street Dive or something like that. I think I could die happy. I'd be like, great, just a concert with them and I'd be happy. Into the recording studio, I don't know. I have to think a little bit more about it. I'm in the process of recording my first album, and I think it's taken me so long because it's just not the medium that I feel super, super comfortable in. Ugh, even saying it now, I'm like, ugh. I
totally get it. I totally get it. Because the thing is, if you're comfortable before, it's like me going in front of an audience of 200 people. I'm like, I'm not ready for that just yet.
Oh, put me up there. See, I could do that right now. I could do that in 5 minutes, which is so strange. Like, that's where I feel comfortable. And that's taken years. But like, yeah, you could just throw me up there, like with a guitarist, because I don't like playing instruments for myself. I hate it so much. And I'd be fine.
I agree. I think right now with my podcast wise, I'm ready. I need to build up to get to that audience, but I'm like all in due time.
Yeah, there's time.
But right now I gotta focus on the climb and the build. So anyway, we gotta start wrapping up our conversation. So Lauren, last question, are you ready? Where can they find your music? And where can they connect with you on social media?
You can find my music on Spotify and Apple, like iTunes. You can head to my website, www.laurenmarcus.com. Shout out to my brother for getting me that domain name when I was in 6th grade. I think it's so funny. He was like, just in case, when I did my first show. And YouTube also, I have a lot of stuff up on there. And I would say Instagram's your best bet. I'm at Laur, Laur Marcus on there. Facebook, I don't do as great a job keeping up with, and Twitter, I'm off of completely. Instagram's where I'd head. Yeah.
All right. So, guys, did you miss an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast? Visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar. JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And if you missed the latest edition of The Masked Singer, or what happened last season on America's Got Talent, or you want to see some more takes on my music, like Skinny and Blonde, and also more songs, head to jakes-shake.com. Once again, jakes-shake.com. Lauren, you were absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for taking time on your schedule.
Thank you so much for talking to me. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Truly.
You're so welcome. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. Goodbye.